Hey, church family, I'm praying for you. I hope you're doing well. I thank the Lord for you and thank God for the opportunity He's given us to serve Him during these days. It has truly been an interesting time, that's for certain. And I'm thankful that we're trying to move towards getting everything reopened again. And I hope you'll be praying for the folks that are trying to make some of these decisions. These kinds of decisions are never easy, so let's pray for the folks in leadership that are trying to make these choices. Our president, our governor, our local authorities, and of course continue to pray for our doctors and nurses that are trying to fight this virus on the front lines with those that are dealing with it personally. And I hope that you'll take the time to do that today. I wanted to take a few moments and come to you and talk about what we're doing here at the church and how we're planning to get things reopened. And I want you to take a personal interest in this because I want every one of you to continue to be faithful to the Lord, to be ready to jump right back in when the time comes and be in your place and ready to serve God. And of course, trying to do that is going to be a process. It's going to take us some time to adjust and of course, the community and the culture is getting used to getting back out to a normal way of life, if you will. And so I want you to just take note of a few of these things. We've had to develop here at the church a written policies and procedures for how we're going to handle these things and the reopening of our church. And we've done that, and we've taken information from the CDC, from the governor's office, from medical professionals, and we've put that information together in a church policy and procedure, and we'll be emailing that to you directly. And we want to ask that you follow those guidelines and work with us on those things, because remember, it's not only your life that's impacted, it's the lives of those around you. And so we're asking you to be mindful of the guidelines that we're going to give you and to follow them. And I know the Lord's going to give us the strength and the grace that we need to see us through this. And I believe with God's help, we'll come out on the other side a stronger, more revived church. And I hope that you'll pray God will work in your heart in that way. But we've developed this policy and procedure, and it involves a responsibility on our part as a church. We have put this together in different points. And the first point is we have entitled care. And that is the responsibility of the church. And we are wanting you to know some of the things that we are doing to try to make sure that this place is clean, it's sanitized, and we have done everything we can do to reduce the opportunity for infection or spread of the virus. And we've tried to make sure we've done our very best. Our church will be cleaned from top to bottom professionally. The carpets will be clean. And hand sanitizers will be available when you enter the building, masks and gloves as well if you are wanting to use those. There is a hand sanitizer bottle that'll be available when you leave the property. And we're just trying to do our dead level best and going above and beyond. Just yesterday had a walkthrough with our mayor just to show him the steps that we're taking as a church to ensure safety of God's people. And that is certainly the greatest motivation in all this, is I want God's people to be safe, and I want you to have the best opportunity to worship the Lord safely, and we're trying to make sure that happens. We are, not only we had the building cleaned and the carpets clean and hand sanitizers available, we're going to be checking temperature people who come into the building, and that is just to simply ensure the safety of everyone. And you have to understand now, this from a liability aspect is important for the church. And so there's a responsibility, and part of the responsibility rests on the church, and we are making sure that that is the best that it can be. After every meeting, the building is going to be cleaned and sanitized, and so we have to work hard at that and have people help us with it. So that's our responsibility. The second point involves your responsibility. It's important that you understand that when we come back together, things are going to be a little different. We're not going to be hugging and handshaking and high-fiving, those kinds of things. We're going to ask that you maintain social distancing guidelines. As a matter of fact, our church has already been set up to do that. We've arranged the seating, we've removed some chairs, and we've separated seating so that the social distancing guidelines are met. So when you come into the building, if you sit down in a chair, you are sitting in a place where you're already meeting those social distance guidelines. And so we're working on those things, but you have to take your responsibility. We are asking that you use hand sanitizer, that you make sure you wash your hands, and you don't come to church if you're sick or under the weather. Make sure you follow the guidelines that have been placed out there by the governor's office. And you'll see all of that in the email. And make sure you read that and follow it properly. You'll also see that not only point 1 was our responsibility and point 2 was your responsibility, but point 3 is there's a mutual responsibility. And when we come together and when we begin to meet together again, we have to understand we're going to have to work together at this thing. Everyone has an opinion about the coronavirus. Everybody has a position on COVID-19. But the fact of the matter is when we're meeting together in a group, we have to consider everyone. And so remember that when we come back together, you'll see some of the details that are going to be in place there. And we've worked very hard to ensure your safety, the safety of those around you, and to maintain our testimony as a church. I want to give you kind of over the next few weeks what's going to be happening. And so May the 10th and 17th, that's this coming Sunday and next Sunday, we will have a drive-in service here at the church. You will come in to the parking lot in a specific way, and we'll have ushers and greeters that will be instructing you. And please be mindful of what they ask you to do. Don't try to write your own set of rules. Just do what you're asked to do. And I know that'll certainly be helpful to everyone around you. You'll turn your radio to a specific radio station. We'll let you know what that is when you come into the parking lot. And you'll be able to hear the singing and the preaching of God's Word. And we'll be able to see each other. We're asking everyone to stay in the cars. The buildings aren't going to be open, so you're not going to be able to come in and use the bathroom or just look around. That's not going to happen. You'll need to stay in your car. You can leave your windows up, turn your air conditioner on. And for some of you ladies who always let Pastor know how cold it is, you can adjust the temperature in that vehicle to whatever you want it to and worship the Lord together. So for May the 10th and the 17th, we're going to have drive-in services here at Bethel Baptist Church. I want you to take note of this. On May the 24th, we are going to have an online service, but we're requesting on May the 24th that our leadership team and our teachers, if they feel they can, would return to the service for an in-person service. We're doing this for the purpose of just trying to set the guidelines with others outside of the staff and those who are helping us develop this, so that when groups of people begin to come, we'll have some examples there. And our teachers and leadership need to be the best examples that they can be. And we'll need to train ushers and train greeters on how we're going to guide and help people get into the buildings and leave the buildings in a manner that is within the guidelines there. And so we're asking on May the 24th, our teachers, our children's teachers, all the way up to our adult teachers, and then our leadership, if you would be in a service on May the 24th in person. And that way we can take some time to explain to you following the service what we're trying to accomplish and how we're going to accomplish it. And then beginning on May the 31st, and I hope that you understand that some of these plans, we have to be flexible, because if we see a spike in cases or things begin to get out of hand from a health perspective, we'll have to make some adjustment, but this is the plan. So on May the 31st, we're going to divide the congregation alphabetically, and we'll ask half of the congregation to come at 9 o'clock, and we'll have half the congregation come at 10:30. We'll have two different services. They will be defined alphabetically, so you will come to a service based on the first letter of your last name. And we'll send that information out in an email. You'll get that information. You'll either be in the 9 o'clock service or the 10:30 service. The service will last less than an hour, and in between each service, the building will be cleaned and sanitized. And we're asking for you to help us with that. When you come into the building, make sure you take everything that you brought with you. And when it's time to leave, of course, fellowship with God's people at a safe distance in the parking lot, if you will. But don't try to get outside of the social distancing guidelines, and that would certainly be helpful. And so beginning May the 31st, we are going to start in-person services based on the first letter of your last name. It'll be alphabetized. And so we're asking the Lord to help us with this. And there may be some things we could do better, and you may recognize that. And of course, if you see something you think we could do better, bring it to our attention. We want to do the very best that we can. But I wanted to give you a heads up, or just give you some direction on how we're going to reopen. And we will have in-person services that way for several weeks. We're not certain how long. We're trying to let everyone feel comfortable when they come back to church, everyone to understand what we're trying to accomplish. And but I wanted to bring you to May the 31st. So for the next month, you know what's going to be going on at church. So May the 10th and 17th, there'll be drive-in services right here on the church property. Everybody's invited to come, and you're more than welcome to come. We'd love to see you, and love to see you here in the church parking lot, and let other people, it'll be just a blessing for other people to see you from the church, and I know it'll be an encouragement to you. And then on May the 24th, we'll have an online service, but we're asking that our teachers and our leadership return for an in-person service. Again, social distancing guidelines have already been set up. When you come in the building, it'll be clean and sanitized, and it will be safe. And we want to be able to give you, following the service, some instruction on how you can help us lead and help people. And then beginning May the 31st, the entire church will be broken down into 2 different groups. If we see that the groups are too large, we may have to go to 3 services, and that we'll do that if necessary. But we're going to break our church down based on the first letter of your last name, and we'll assign you a specific service to come to. And we'll be here gathered together in the Lord's house. And we've taken the steps here at Bethel to try to ensure the safety of everyone, including you. And so help us with that. I hope that you'll be praying for the church, for me, and for our staff. And this has been an interesting time, and I don't believe there's anybody that's more excited about the opportunity to get together with God's people than your pastor. I'm excited to see you. I'm most excited that I don't have to speak directly to a camera all the time then. But I want you to be here. I want you to be praying about God, how God would have you get in and get involved. Let me say this as well. If you feel uncomfortable, don't feel like you should return yet, that's completely fine. No one will say anything. You won't be made to feel any different. We want to encourage you to do what you feel is safe. Remember, the online service will always be available, and you can go to church via online until you're comfortable. But we want to encourage you, if you're ready to come back and you feel like you can, then we want to give that opportunity to you as well. Pray that God will help us to be wise. Pray that we'll present the right testimony. And most of all, pray that the Lord will be glorified. I hope this information helps you. I hope that you'll take the time to read the email that comes along with it. Follow the policies and procedures. And most of all, let's have the right spirit, the right attitude, and let's continue to let our light shine for Jesus Christ. God bless you, church family. I love you.